Goldminded Records, they're not your friends.
What up, it's Klive Kraven. I'm back with another top 10 list. This time it's going to be my top 10 horror movies of the 1990s. The 90s era gets a lot of flack because obviously it's kind of hard to follow up. The 70s and 80s was really amazing for the genre. So the 90s, not so much, but there is some true gems in the 90s, and I want to go ahead and point out my top 10 favorite horror movies of the 90s, my top 10 gems of that era. So we're going to go ahead and start it off with my number 10. Classic movie, one of my favorites. Corbin Bernstein's in this, really good, interesting concept. I'd never seen it approached before. Pretty much a slasher type movie, but The Dentist. This is an awesome film. Really cool little revenge plot in there. Corbin Bernstein's acting is phenomenal in this. He really does a great job at playing the villain, gets it off really well on film, and just a great movie. So yeah, that's my number 10, The Dentist. My number 9, Oliver Stone film, phenomenal. Watched this a million times growing up, seen it 100 times as a kid, and every time I've always enjoyed it. It's not necessarily exactly a complete horror movie, but I classify it in that same realm. I throw it in there with my horror movies. But you probably already know what this is, Natural Born Killers. This is also another real gem. Great movie. The story between the two, Mickey and Mallory is just phenomenal. The whole plot from the beginning, the scene in the story, just everything about this film is great. The LSD scenes are phenomenal. Oliver Stone's a hell of a filmmaker, and this is no exception. So this is definitely in my top 10. That's my number 9. And moving on up, another great film. My number 8 film, ironically my 8th film, is the movie Seven. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey. First time I remember seeing Kevin Spacey really play a real villain role. The end with the box is just a real classic scene in cinema. Really great movie. Highly recommended. I'm sure most people have seen it. If you're a collector, though, I gotta say, I want to show this while I'm here. This actually is a really dope deluxe edition. How it unfolds, it's really tight. I picked this up at a pawn shop, I think for $2, something like that. And as you can see, it's just 2 discs, but really cool fold out. Really nice layout. I like how it looks like a little composition book. $2, so yeah, had to grab that. But great film. Seven. That is my number 8 film for the 90s. The next one, Wes Craven film. This is great. Especially for the 90s. This is the rebirth of the slasher film. You probably already know what this is after saying that. Obviously, it's Scream. This is the Blu-ray box set. I grabbed this a little while back, got a great deal on it, picked it up. It's got all 3 of them and the 2 documentaries with it. But obviously, the first one is the real gem here. The one that came out, I believe, in '96 is when this was released. But phenomenal movie. Like I said, it rebirthed the slasher genre, kind of brought it back to life. A lot of the elements from the 80s slashers are kind of, brought back into element with this. So it was really cool seeing that. I can't go wrong, Wes Craven. A lot of good actors. Good acting. Overall, good film. Scream. Definitely recommend that if you haven't seen it. I'm sure most people have. My next one up is going to be number 6. And this is a great movie. Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins. Real gem right here. The whole series. I'm a huge fan of the whole series of these. But Silence of the Lambs. This one is probably tied with the best one out of the series for me. Red Dragon was pretty good. I like Manhunter, even though it was unrelated to the series. But this film is truly a gem. I'm sure this is probably a lot of people's favorite movie. From this era, one of their favorite movies from the 90s. This came out in '91, I believe. But Anthony Hopkins is phenomenal in this. Jodie Foster does a great job, and not a whole lot to say about this other than it's a great film. I'm a huge Lecter fan, and very good movie. It's in my top 10. Next one up is a Wes Craven film. They did a few sequels to this. I've only got the first two. I don't think I've seen anything past the first two. But these are also one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I just really love the whole idea of this. The Jinn is fucking awesome, the monster in the movie, but Wishmaster. And the first two are great. I mean, the first two, I really enjoyed both of them almost equally, but I would probably say a slight edge probably to the first one, just because it was the initiating one and it was a really fresh idea when it was the first one. So I like this movie a lot. Wes Craven film. Came out, I believe, in 96 as well, maybe 95 for the first one. Really awesome films, awesome characters. Yeah, Wishmaster, great movie. Definitely recommend this if you haven't seen it. That's my number 5, by the way. Moving on up to number 4. Man, this is classic right here. Tony Todd, Virginia Madsen. This is a Clive Barker film, and this movie was so creepy as a kid. I used to love this. You know, the scenes with the bees and just the hook hand, and you know when he's you know, calling out her name. I mean, it's just, you know, when he calls out Helen, it's just so creepy. I just love this movie. But without further ado, number 4, Candyman. This is a cult classic, a modern cult classic, mind you. I believe this came out in 91, 92. They did a few sequels to this. I have part 3. I've seen part 1, 2, and 3. And I think they're supposed to be doing a part 4. I read something somewhere recently about Tony Todd signing on to do a part 4 in one of his recent interviews. So I'd love to see a part 4 of this. I'm not sure where they would go with it. But yeah, great movie, Candyman. That's my number 4. Moving up one next to the list. This is great. A lot of people might not like this, and I know this is one of people's least favorite out of the whole series of these films. But for me, I don't know. I like this. I saw this in the 90s when it first came out, in 95 or 96, like the year that it came, or maybe it was 94. Yeah, 94, 95. Like the year it came out, I saw this, and I loved it. I mean, to me, it was phenomenal. You got Matthew McConaughey, Renee Zellweger. They're mad young in this, early on in their careers. It's a sequel movie, but phenomenal. Really good movie. Just really weird. I mean, I think the strangeness more so than the gore and the blood, 'cause it's not so bloody and gory, but it's just really odd. You know, which kind of goes with the whole theme of these. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, The Next Generation. It's not actually called 4, but it was the 4th one, kind of like the sequel. But it was called The Next Generation. Phenomenal movie. Really grimy and grungy, and for the 90s, I mean, it's everything you'd expect and a little bit more. Great soundtrack on it as well. Matthew McConaughey does a great job in this. Renee Zellweger does a great job in this. You know, I like all the members of the family in this. They do a great job. Yeah, great horror movie. This is my number 3. Moving up on the list, my number 2. This movie here, wow. I remember seeing this when I was a real little kid. Probably like 6 or 7 the first time I seen this. And even back then, I mean, I loved it. I mean, even as a kid, I loved this movie. And still to this day, it really holds a special spot for me. I mean, I've even sampled the theme from this and made a beat with it. It's a phenomenal movie, great soundtrack, cool story, good effects for the year, and you know, the kills are really interesting, and you know, the storyline is really creepy with, you know, how he's beaten by his dad and how he ends up, you know, killing his dad. Just the whole idea behind that was really cool. And the revenge scenes were great and just real creepy with the music. But this is a real classic. A lot of people may not be hip to this one. This one is not really that well known, honestly. I don't know a ton of people that are familiar with it, but if you're a real hardhead, you probably know this. Sleep Stalker. This is a phenomenal movie. Definitely recommend this. This is my number 2 for my top 10 out of the 90s films. I mean, it's so good, and it's underrated. I mean, it's probably going to be in one of my top 10 underrated films of all time. I mean, I don't hear anybody ever talk about this in any videos or anything, so this is a real gem. If you haven't seen this, Sleep Stalker, highly recommend it. And that brings us to the number 1. My number 1, and wow, this movie, I remember seeing this one once again when I was a kid. This came out in 1990, I think. Tom Savini film, based off a George Romero film. I mean, that probably tells you what it is right there. But the effects in this, the storyline, the way that it was done, the fact that Savini was behind it. I didn't even find out that Savini did this film till way later, and I loved it growing up, not even knowing that it was a Savini film. But this is phenomenal. It was done really well. Like, the soundtrack on it was good. The effects were great. The storyline was good. They kept true to the original. It is a remake, but it's a phenomenal remake, and that is the Night of the Living Dead remake. When I first seen this, I fell in love with it. Tony Todd plays the Ben character in this, and I mean, it's so good. It's so good. George Romero obviously is what this is based off of, the original George Romero film, and I gotta say, this is a phenomenal film. I'm sure most people have already seen this, and if you haven't seen this, if you slept on this and only seen the original, do yourself the favor, pick this up, watch this. It's definitely worth a watch, if not a buy if you're a collector. Phenomenal movie, and yeah, I mean, I could go on all day about this movie, but I don't want to go too long into the video. But this is, a really good film, and even the bonus features on this. I mean, there's hell of a lot of bonus features on this. So if you are a collector, definitely pick this up. Quality movie. But that wraps it up. That's about my top 10 for the top 10 horror films of the 1990s. I'll be back with more overviews, reviews, updates, unboxings, all that good shit. So make sure you subscribe, check out my channel, comment, like, favorite my videos, all that good shit. And I'll be back with more videos in the future. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time. Peace.